Now they tell me that I paid my debt to society.
Funny, I never got a check.
You're not wearing your ring.
I sold it. I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the papers?
Hey, Owais, how are you? My name is David Vallone, and I'm going to go ahead and critique your shot here from the 11-Second Club. I've been an animator for more than 30 years now, and I've worked on lots of different things, from animated feature film to live-action CG to games to commercials to ride films, and just kind of a nice mixed bag of things that I've done in the course of my career, which I've really been very thankful and fortunate to be able to have done, and really enjoyed it. But anyway, so you know, I wanted to come through and start talking about your work here. I really like what I'm seeing. I think just in general, you have some really good sense of acting choices, which I think are nice. I think you do a nice job of not overdoing it with the acting, like too many beats, too many acting moments in too short a time. I think that kind of stuff works well. I think you have some nice little subtle stuff in here, and I'll point some of that stuff out. But I also think there's some places where I feel like we could probably work on a little bit more, maybe tighten it up a little bit, maybe add a little gesture, a little bit into some of the accents to get a little bit more inflection in some of the with the accents and the words that are being said here. I think also too a little bit of the mouth movement, getting a little bit more out of the facial performance, whether we add a little bit of cheek action in here to kind of engage the cheeks a little bit more when the eyes are squinting, or getting a little more, just a little more facial emotion in a couple places. And I think working a little bit more with kind of the corners of the mouth to possibly bring them in and out a little bit more when there's some pronunciation going on. There's a couple places where I feel like I'm missing a little bit of that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and just talk about it as we jump into the shot here. So I'm going to go ahead and play it through one time, and then I'll go ahead and talk about it, kind of break it down from there. So here we go.
Now they tell me that I paid my debt to society.
Funny, I never got a check.
You're not wearing your ring.
I sold it. I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the papers?
Now they tell me that I paid my debt to society.
So I think what really works here is, well, let's focus on the first part with the husband here, or the ex-husband. What I think is when he's first saying, you know,
now they tell me that.
Now they tell me when I paid my debt to society. I almost feel like right here, when they tell me, I almost wouldn't mind feeling a little bit of shoulder in there, just like, and a little bit of head, maybe just a little bit more. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, just enough to. I'm going to kind of give a little demonstration here, but just like when he's talking here, going, you know, he just can go something like, now they tell me, you know, just now they tell me. Just want to feel the shoulders a little bit engaged, like you have a little bit of the upper body rotation in here, you know, a little bit of right here. You got that kind of thing. I wouldn't mind seeing just a little bit of somewhere right in here. Do you feel the shoulders kind of go up just a little bit? They don't have to go up a ton. You know, it's just like a little bit of a shoulder roll. Come on. A little bit of a shoulder roll coming up. Let me see if I can get this a little bit better here. A little bit of a shoulder roll. You know, as he slightly brings them up just a little bit. And getting a little window here, sorry. You know, just let the shoulders kind of come up slightly. Apologize for that, but then my stylist sometimes acts up a little bit. But what I'm trying to get at, it's just a little sense of him going, you know, my debt to society, you know, sometimes.
Now they tell me that I paid.
Yeah, now they tell me, right in there, like, now they tell me. I feel like he can kind of anticipate a little bit. Now they tell me, just trying to feel like the shoulders drop a little bit. Now they tell me, and even just a little bit in there with his head, because I want to make sure that don't want to overdo it, like they tell me or they tell me. It's nothing like that. It's just a little bit. Bring those shoulders up and down, a little bit of a roll in there. Now they tell me. Just a little, now they tell me. Like he's just kind of in that mode of like, they tell me. I just feel like we could get a little bit of the shoulders and a slight little bit of the head, kind of just dragging off of the upper body a little bit, so it's not quite locked in. It doesn't have to be much. It's just a little subtle moment right here. Like right here, I feel like right here, you can feel his body and his head almost feel like they're kind of right about the same. I wouldn't mind, now his nose, he's got a big nose and all, so we don't want to make it too big, but at the same time, just feel like he's just going to, they tell me, they tell me. So you get that kind of feeling. They tell me. And I think that'll just add a little bit more life to it and just punctuate some of that moment. They tell me, you know.
Now they tell me that I paid my...
Yeah. Now they, and then they tell me. And that'll help, I think, a little bit too. Okay? So the other part too is when he's in here in the moment of, with his lip sync.
Tell me that I paid my debt to society.
I feel like right here, when you say they tell me, I feel like he stays kind of at the corner of the mouth. He kind of stays in this pose. Now that the corners don't really, I don't feel like the corners are moving a little bit more towards the front and back, you know. So kind of now, getting the now, a little bit more than ow in the now. I just want to feel like the corners come together or come in a little bit more and come forward a little bit rather than staying back. Just so you get a little bit of that contrast. Doesn't have to be big. I'm not looking at over enunciating or anything like that. But I think, you know, just kind of as he's in this this emotional posture, you know, just kind of going, now they tell me. I just want to feel like now they kind of come in. Now they tell me. Now they tell me. Okay? Just a little bit like that I think will be helpful. Just to feel like...
Tell me that I paid my debt to society. Now they tell me that I paid my debt to society. Now they tell me that I paid my debt to society.
Yeah.
Now they tell me that I paid my debt.
And it looks like right here, after me, there also is a little bit of, they feel like they stick right there, like they don't have anywhere to go. So it almost feels like they stick, and then they pop open right there. Wouldn't mind seeing that they kind of relax out. Instead of staying in that kind of E for tell me, it's like he's almost going, tell me, and just slightly relax the jaw a little bit. Tell me, just a little bit there, and then you can go into that next mouth pose. Okay.
Me that I paid my debt to society.
Funny, I never.
Me that I paid my debt to society.
Funny, I never.
Me that I paid my debt to society.
Funny, I never got.
I love this little moment right here. This is a nice little gesture that you did right here to society, right there. That's really nice. Just that little head gesture was great. And you know, one thing that's kind of nice. Let's see. I like this, and one thing is great. Anything you can do to kind of open this area, like in terms of his looking, he's kind of opening. So when he's looking, you know, that brow raises up, kind of almost that brow raises up a little bit, which then opens the eye and allows the eye to give the room for the eye to move over and kind of look in that direction to his ex-wife. You know, so it's just kind of, I know the brow is up under the hair there a bit, but just kind of just feeling that you've got the eyes shift over. I wouldn't mind seeing the brow starting to come up a little bit there to make room for that eye to kind of show it. It's like that opens up a little bit to kind of visually feel that it's a directional thing, you know, so it's opening up to allow the eye to make that move across and over, okay? Just leading that a little bit. But I like that, but what I do like, though, is that you do have this eye feels a little bit more open than this one, which, again, kind of shows that nice little bit of, you know, a nice little directional thing. The head tilt is nice. Anything like that that's kind of helping the audience to show that his focus is back over on her, which is great, okay? And I do love this. This is a great little moment right there. Just a little bit there. Doesn't take much, but I think that just helps to punctuate that.
Paid my debt to society.
Funny.
I love that. Society. You know, that's really good. Like that a lot. Anything with this?
Paid my debt to society.
Funny, I never got it.
I think the hands work pretty nice.
Now they tell me that I paid my debt.
I think you did a nice job here with the secondary action with the hand. That's really nice too. The clasping. Yeah, it looks like you got, yeah, the fingers, they just gesture out, which is nice, just society, like that. You're not overdoing it to where the hands overtake the acting of the face, because we're looking at the face and we want to see that as the audience, which is great. And I think the hands are great just there to support the action, which then helps to, support everything that's going on here with the facial expression and his emotional state, which is great. So really nicely done there.
That I paid my debt to society.
Now, one thing I do want
Now they tell me that I paid my debt to society.
Funny.
I know this is small right here. This thumb kind of just stays in one little spot there, like through that moment at the end here. It kind of stays right there, kind of right here, and then it kind of locks and stays in that space. It wouldn't be bad if you kept the rotation slightly coming down and maybe just closing off a little bit there, just so it doesn't freeze. Okay, these are the small tiny little bits of polish, that you can add to it that just really help the overall feeling and tie everything together nicely. That's a small little thing. But, those kind of things really, ultimately, it's a lot of those little things that add up to being something really big. In terms of big in a great way, pulls everything together nicely. All right?
Now they tell me that I paid my debt to society.
Funny, I never got a check.
So let's take a look.
Tell me that I paid my debt to society.
Funny, I never got a check.
Not bad. I mean, everything.
Now they tell me that I
good.
paid my debt to society.
She has small little stuff going on with her eyes here, a little thinking moment, which is good.
Now they tell me that I paid my debt to society.
Yeah, this doesn't bother me at all. I think at first I was thinking, well, let's see, are the legs too much? But no.
Now they tell me that I paid my debt.
You're adding a little bit of her nervous kind of anxiousness, like she's just, I got to sit there and listen to this guy talk. Okay, hurry up, get through it, get through your dialogue here, so she can just start slamming him. Alrighty, so, I mean, I think you did a nice job there.
Now they tell me that
because it's all really about him at that moment. The one thing I would say with her hair, you have to be mindful. I don't know if you have a little sim on there. I don't know if it's sim. Feels like it, or if you animated it through. I mean, it's got some nice overlap and all. But I think there's a little bit, sometimes just visually it's a little bit big for me.
Got a check.
I mean, I like her hair doing
society.
Some of the action.
Funny, I never got a check.
But there's some places where it's a little large for me.
I sold it. I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the papers?
Some of that, I don't know. It's not overly done. I feel like it could be toned down, just kind of like 10%. I know it doesn't sound like much, but just enough so it doesn't feel like they're kind of just distracting the audience from looking at her face and seeing what her emotion is. Just because I don't want to see too much of the hair coming in front of her, But I know she's doing a quick little action, and so her hair is going to react a little bit. I think it's just toning it down ever so slightly, 10% at most, I think.
Tell me that I paid my debt to society.
Funny, I never got a check.
Yeah, so you're cutting on the action here with the hair here. The hair almost right here. It almost feels a little self-motivated right here, like it's doing its own thing. It's starting to drag and follow through before her head really gets going. That's one thing that catches me a little, and then she cuts into this, and this isn't too bad here.
Never got a check.
That doesn't bother me too much right here. Check, because she's really pushing it. You may, if anything, it may be 10%, and that's something you could take possibly in the graph editor and just squash and scale the values just a little bit. All right, but not much. So let's take a look at her.
Funny, I never got a check.
Here's where like some of the, and it also could go to him too. Some of the, be nice to see some of the, let's see, her brows are coming down. This is good. I like this right here.
Funny, I never got a check.
I don't know if there's something available in the, if everybody kind of, when she opens her mouth a lot, I like the fact that you're kind of rocking the jaw a little bit right in here. You're getting this little bit of a rocking motion. It wouldn't be bad. Let's see. We're not trying to push.
Never got a check.
But I kind of like the fact that you're getting this and gets a little bit of an attitude with that jaw, like check, check. But one thing that might be good is to feel the cheeks as she stretches the jaw down. If there's a way to feel a little bit of the fleshiness right here, I think I'd like to see a little bit of that. If you have the cheeks come down when she's extreme, oh, opening, you just feel a little bit of the cheek action come down like that and possibly come in, and then they come back out. Just adding a little bit more of that kind of fleshiness to the face will be helpful in there, just so things don't get isolated in places. One thing is a great way to do that is if you want to turn on the mesh over top of the shading, if you're using Maya in this case, or any of those things where you can see the actual mesh on top of the shading, then you can kind of see how the mesh is reacting. So if you're looking at the facial stuff and you're, trying to see, is there any dead spots here? Is there any place here where I can add a little bit more life to it so it feels like it's being engaged? Because you have areas of the mouth, right? It's not just isolated in here, but you want to make sure that all these other areas are incorporated. I feel like I'm doing plastic surgery here. But, it's just one of those things when the mouth is engaging and moving, these cheeks, these muscles are all pulling and pushing and pulling things up. They're firing off and pulling up. And so you're getting all that kind of work, all this musculature underneath the skin engaging. Now, granted, we're not looking at live action, completely realistic humans, but then the fact that you want to make sure there's no real dead spot in there, that's going to really help sell the facial stuff and just add a little more life to it. So anything like that that you can do is great. So,
me that I paid my debt to society.
Funny, I never got a check.
See, when she comes, never got a check. I like this right here. And you're bringing the brows down a little bit. I wouldn't mind.
I never got a check.
Yeah. One thing is for sure, it wouldn't mind seeing like this side is kind of, I call this kind of the leading eye because it's kind of closest to the action as she's leading, looking at him. Wouldn't mind seeing her, that part, like if that part of the brow came down a little earlier, like a frame earlier and then up a little earlier than the other one. Just so she's kind of leading. It's like it's coming down and then leading. So it's like leading with that action. Just so it doesn't feel exactly together, at the same time. That kind of stuff will be helpful. And even when you have a moment of furrowing, I can't say that, furrow, to bring the brows in a little bit, when she's, coming in, you get that kind of feeling is always nice too. Anything like that adds that little bit of fleshiness, which is great. Let's see if I anything else in there too.
Forgot a check.
Yeah, and that'll just help a little bit. And I like one thing that's fun is you kind of become down. It'd be like as though you kind of come. That's too low. But you come down with the a little like a frame sooner. Getting a little off here. Sometimes my thing's not mapped great on my pad, but that she comes down a little bit, not extremely low. That's a little off, but just the fact that it's kind of coming down there, then it has somewhere to go. It's coming back up. And then it's fun the way you can kind of, this brow leads down and then comes back up, like that kind of thing. Or this leads and then it changes the expression, to where then this one comes up a little bit higher, which is fun. It looks like you've got that little bit of asymmetry there, which is good in the brows. But anyway, just that idea of getting a little bit more of that feeling of fleshiness, where they come in a little bit and then up, like that. All that'll be good to have. Let's see and look at anything in her
Funny,
body.
I never got a check.
Let's see. I think right here, I wouldn't mind doing something with the shoulders right in here. When you see, like you can kind of feel the isolated rotation that's rotating from here. It's rotating that whole body right there. And then right here, there's not a whole lot in the shoulders going on. So you feel like the shoulders are kind of staying in this one position all the way through, and you're getting movement here, and you're getting the torso area moving. But it's nice to be able to get a little sense of her as she's coming over. It'll help sell the idea like she's leaning up against this side of the right here. Like the shoulder gets a little more shrugged or pushed up. You know, she's leaning against it. It's kind of pushing that shoulder a little bit. But even when she's moving over, coming over here, just just having the shoulders, just feel the shoulders do a little bit of movement there like that, just kind of to break it up enough to where it doesn't feel like they're locked in one place. Okay, that'll help sell that idea, and again, add a little bit more life in there so it doesn't feel wooden in that area. Okay.
Funny, I never got a check.
I like this little overshoot here with her, and this is good too. What I like is that you punctuate it. Let's see if we can.
Funny, I never got a check.
I think that's good. This is good, where it's not only that you're overshooting, coming back up, but you're actually pushing forward. You're overshooting this way, and then back out. So it's nice to. Funny, I never got a check. Funny, I never got a check. Let's see if
Society.
Funny, I never got a check.
Yeah, I don't mind this. At first when I looked at this, I thought maybe it's a little overshoot, too much of the head bobble, but rather than her going like this, I never got a check. A check. But I think looking back at it a little bit more, I don't mind the fact that you did this, with it adds a little bit of that snarkiness to her, like never got a check.
To society.
Funny, I never got a check.
Yeah. What if we get checked again with the corners of the mouth? Never got. Let's see if we can get a little.
I never got a check.
We got a. So it's like getting that little idea. Check. Never got a check. Bring the corners in a little bit, just so she's not. Again, they're not staying so far out here the whole time, and you're just getting. Just adding a little bit more fleshiness in that area too. Just a check. I've got a check. I've got a check. Check. So she's coming in, check, check. Bringing his corners in a little bit, check, and then coming back out, and then having that asymmetrical. In that, you could do something. This side, you can tell that this one of these cheeks is up a little bit higher, check. So if you want to get a little bit more of asymmetry, like right now the mouth is kind of straight across like that, it'd be nice if maybe you add a little bit of check, just a little check. Never got a check. Just a little get a little bit of a slight sneer, maybe it's on this side right here. Whatever side we're looking at to kind of bring that one cheek up on that side, so you get that little, it's like, I know she's going to check, but it wouldn't be bad to have a little sneer there too. Just asymmetry in that part of the mouth. Okay? And let's see what we have here.
You're not wearing your ring.
That's a really good moment here with the eyes in the mouth right here. Nice. This is what I like about what you're doing here, because to me, subtle acting can be the most difficult thing to do. Because you don't want to overdo it, but you don't want to, you want to do enough of it that it supports that emotion, that little moment. And you got that little bit right there. You see, you're not wearing your ring? You're not wearing your ring? I like that a lot.
You're not wearing your ring.
That's really good. That's a really good little moment right there. That little head shake, and then the brow, and then the, squinting down, not wearing your ring, and then brighten back up, kind of in question. It's like, you're not wearing your ring? You're not wearing your ring? I like that a lot. Yeah. And you do bring the brow, and you do bring the brows in, which is good. I'm just illustrating the fact that you're doing that, which is good. You're not wearing your ring. That's really good. I like that a lot. Good stuff there. then her reaction.
I sold it. I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the papers?
Now they tell me.
That's good stuff here, too. Now, the only thing right here, she comes over, and that shoulders, you have a little bit more action in there, which isn't bad. Let's see when she leans up against that.
I sold it.
I wouldn't mind. It feels a...
I sold it.
I wouldn't mind feeling a little more weight right here. See how it's kind of like, it almost feels like the whole, there's a little bit, I feel like you get the rotation on this lower part here, and then I feel the upper part coming through. I wouldn't mind feeling, again, that shoulder just slightly, feeling like it's being pressed up against, the chair she's leaning into it. It's coming up a little bit like that. And just maybe adding, getting a little sense of more weight before she settles back to that position right there.
I sold it.
I think she comes out of it pretty quick right there, but it's not bad. I mean, you get the feeling. I like the little breath right there. This is great. Nice little breath moment. Almost, she's just kind of like that. Just feeling a little bit more weight there, so she just kind of sold it, But didn't you get the message?
I sold it. I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the papers?
Now they tell me that I paid.
Didn't listen to all the dialogue there. Sorry. But that it's just that idea. I think it's just a little bit more there in that way.
I sold it. I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the papers?
You're doing a really good job with a lot of. What I really like a lot is the little small gestures that you're doing with the head here and stuff like that. You're doing a lot of nice things in that area.
I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the papers?
Now they tell me that.
And the little eye darts are nice too, right in this area.
I sold it. I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the papers?
Now they tell.
And you lead nicely with the eyes through here. I like this. And then you lead coming up right in here. This is good. Now I want to see if we can want to get.
I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the papers?
Now I think you did good here. What I was looking at is seeing if we needed to put a little bit of like more under arc, because it's kind of a straight across right there. That's debatable whether we need to get a little tiny arc, but in using the nose as kind of a guide, but maybe just a slight little arc as he comes into that, because you lean into it, so it's just a little small little arc there. But I think for the most part
Get
that
the
works
papers.
pretty well.
Now they tell me.
I love the little gesture right here, punctuation. Get the papers. That's good. Get the papers. That's really good. Really nicely done there. I like that a lot. See anything else?
I sold it.
Now the only thing right here catches me a little bit. She almost feels like she's sucking air in, but I know she's expelling it. Like, I'm trying to think, because her body's coming up, almost like a breathing in right here. It's like she's breathing it in. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing that feels a little off to me in that way.
I sold it.
Rather than going, like you'd almost exhale it out. Right now it feels like she's doing this as the smoke's coming out. That's the only thing. It's a little visually confusing that way.
I sold it.
Yeah.
I sold it.
Yeah. That all feels like to me, because she's taking in air, but yet she's expelling it out of her mouth. Now, if it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it doesn't quite feel, yeah, like she's, trying to think. I'm not a smoker, but the idea of it kind of, whether it's Like whether she's trying to do one of these numbers where she's going, like, yeah, I think it's the whole inhaling moment that she's coming up like that. It almost feels like she needs to go, like deflate a little bit in that area. Like, somebody's, you just want to feel this happen, as opposed to coming in like that. It's kind of opposing as the smoke's coming out, That's probably the only thing that catches me that way.
I sold it. I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the paper?
But
I sold it. I don't.
yeah. She's got the lips kind of pushing out, but then it's the exhale up. It's almost like you want to lose that exhale. Like she's just going, because then you're actually, from there, you're going up into an exhale right here almost. She's bringing in air to go to say her line,
I sold it. I don't have a husband, or didn't you get the papers?
Now they tell me that I...
Alrighty. Well, anyway, I hope that helped. And I think you did a real nice job overall. This was, a really successful piece, and you should be proud of it. And anyway, best of luck to you, okay? And take care, and hope to see more of your work in the future. Bye now.